We are kicking things off with a shocking incident that has rocked the independent wrestling world this weekend. Raja Jackson, the son of former UFC heavyweight champion and professional wrestler Quentin Rampage Jackson, is facing heavy backlash after a violent attack during a KnokX pro wrestling event on Saturday night. What was supposed to be a scripted run-in turned into a real and brutal assault that left wrestler Syko Stu, real name Stuart Smith, hospitalized with severe injuries and triggered a full LAPD investigation. The incident unfolded when Jackson was scheduled to interfere in Smith's match as part of a planned spot. Instead of following through with the storyline, he lifted Smith for a stiff slam that appeared to knock him unconscious on impact. Jackson then mounted him and unleashed a barrage of legitimate punches to Smith's unprotected face, continuing even after Smith showed no signs of movement. Wrestlers at ringside, including Douglas Monroe, rushed into the ring to pull Jackson away as fans looked on in shock. The violence stemmed from a tense exchange earlier in the night. Live stream footage showed Smith approaching Jackson backstage in character and striking him with a beer can, though it remains unclear if the can had been gimmicked. Trainers, including Reno Anawai, stepped in to separate them, making it clear that Jackson was not a worker. After heated words, Smith offered an apology that was eventually accepted. The two shook hands multiple times on stream, with Anawai assuring them, "We'll make something out of it." But the tension didn't fully subside. Wrestler Andre Joel Hudson was overheard telling Jackson to give him his receipt, a wrestling term for payback. Jackson then responded on camera saying, "As long as I get my lick back, I'm straight." Later, while sitting in the crowd, he appeared visibly agitated. "I'm not playing no games," he said into the live stream. In another moment, he added, "They told me to hit him and just leave. Someone will pull me off him and we'll leave. I'm telling you, I'm gonna hit him as many times as I can, watch." That threat became reality when Smith delivered a spear during the match, a planned cue for Jackson's entrance. Instead of executing the agreed-upon spot, Jackson stormed the ring and launched into the unplanned attack that left Smith seriously injured. Doug Mallow, one of the wrestlers who stepped in to stop the assault, later told USA Today that Smith suffered broken bones in his face and lost a lot of teeth. Mallow also confirmed that Smith was awake and talking as of August 24th and may be released from the hospital soon, though his injuries remain significant. The fallout has been immediate. Fans, wrestlers, and media outlets have condemned the attack. The LAPD confirmed an active investigation but declined to provide further details. KnokX Pro issued a statement apologizing to Smith, saying, "What was supposed to be a planned and agreed-upon wrestling spot turned into a selfish, irresponsible act of violence against Mr. Smith. This egregious act is reprehensible and never should have occurred." The promotion stressed that in 17 years of operation, nothing like this had ever taken place and apologized to its fans for the incident. Rampage Jackson, Raja's father and former UFC heavyweight champion, has also spoken out, admitting his son had no business involved in an event like this. Meanwhile, questions are growing about how WWE will respond. KnokX Pro has a long-standing relationship as a training affiliate for the company, and while WWE has yet to release an official statement, PW Insider reports suggest internal discussions are already underway. The same report also noted it's certainly possible WWE could distance itself from the school in the aftermath. As Smith recovers from facial fractures and massive dental damage, the situation has shifted from controversy to crisis. The wrestling world is now waiting to see how authorities and WWE address the fallout from an attack that never should have happened. What's your take? Should Raja Jackson face criminal charges for this violent incident? And how should WWE handle KnokX Pro's involvement in the aftermath? Killer Kross and Scarlett have officially resurfaced, and they picked GCW as their first stop after leaving WWE. The surprise unfolded at GCW Homecoming Night 1 during Shotzi Blackheart's match against Matt Cardona for the Garage Beer Championship. Cardona, living up to his reputation, tried to stack the odds in his favor by sending druids to interfere. Shotzi fought them off one by one, but the last two cloaked figures weren't the usual hired hands. One of them struck Cardona with a low blow before pulling back the hood to reveal Scarlett standing alongside a grinning Killer Kross. With the setup in place, Kross made his presence felt by driving Cardona straight through a door. The opening allowed Shotzi to climb onto the top rope and crush Cardona with a senton, sealing the victory in chaotic fashion. This appearance comes less than 2 weeks after Kross and Scarlett officially parted ways with WWE on August 10th when their contracts expired and weren't renewed. For Kross, GCW isn't unfamiliar territory. He's competed at Bloodsport in the past, but this dramatic, destructive return alongside Scarlett added a theatrical edge that set the tone for what comes next. With the duo now free from WWE restrictions, GCW may have just become their proving ground, and their presence signals things are about to get even darker for anyone standing in their way. Do you think Kross and Scarlett's return to the Indies will reshape the scene, or is this just the beginning of something much bigger? NXT news now, as the main event of NXT Heatwave saw Femi defend his NXT Championship against Javon Evans. The fan base was split in their support for the two babyfaces, creating a brilliant atmosphere. Femi attempted to intimidate Evans due to his power and strength to ensure everyone knew who the physically dominant man inside the ring was, while the challenger attempted to fire off some chops, only to be swatted away. Femi dominated the majority of the encounter and had Evans' number, although toward the end of the match, things started to change, with Evans delivering several cutters and his finisher, which saw him get a 3 count. However, much to Evans' disappointment, it was revealed that Femi had his foot beneath the ropes, which kept the match alive as Evans continued to push for the win. Femi managed to avoid Evans' top rope move, launching the challenger into the announcer's desk. Femi then took him in the ring to deliver his finisher and retain the title. Femi celebrated his win after the match, but it was short-lived as Ricky Saints hit the ring to confront the champion, and the show went off the air as the two men jibed at each other. Saints could be heard saying that he will be the one to beat Femi for the title, while the champion didn't back down by saying that Saints was just another guy. With this confrontation between them, do you think WWE is setting up a match between Ricky Saints and Femi at No Mercy? Let us know in the comments below. Enjoying the video? A quick like goes a long way in helping us grow and deliver more wrestling news you care about. The opening match of the night saw Jada Parker, Kalani Jordynne, and Lola Vice battle against each other in a triple threat #1 contenders match, which followed a pattern of one woman selling a lot while two fought each other. It ensured that everyone felt fresh at each moment in the match, with all three women proving that they can go inside the ring in a match with a ton of fun spots, although some of the bigger moments weren't quite sold enough. Nobody had any clear advantage at any stage of this one, which made the encounter hard to predict. However, it was Vice who scored the win, allowing her to be the next challenger for Jacy Jayne's NXT Women's title. It created a disappointing moment for the other women, particularly for Jordynne, given that her family was at ringside, but now Vice can push for a title shot. It's unclear when Vice will be able to have that match, but that might become clearer after NXT later this week. However, there was one negative moment when Booker T said Vice has that hot Cholula, which was an odd comment within the match. He's become too comfortable saying questionable things during women's matches, which is something the business has gotten away from for a specific reason. Heatwave also saw the NXT Tag Team titles defended as Hank and Tank put the gold on the line against two members of DarkState, as fans learned it was Osiris Griffin and Dion Lennox who they'd be facing. Saquon Sugars played mind games before the match, and the numbers advantage allowed DarkState to take advantage before the match began, which continued when the bell rang as they isolated the champions. Tank managed to get the hot tag as he went on a rampage that included him taking out guys at ringside who weren't even in the match, with the referee letting the rules slip in this moment, as people who weren't involved got physical with him. Regardless, this match had great energy, although it was a little too sloppy and all over the place. However, that's the vibe that DarkState brings as they attempt to be chaotic, even though that can be a negative aspect. After further interference from Cutler James, DarkState got the win to become the new NXT Tag Team Champions, which was a predictable change that will bring chaos at the same time. Hank and Tank were a solid tag team for the division, but their reign felt like it was running out of steam, so a change made sense. NXT General Manager Ava was on hand at Heatwave to make a major change to some of the men's and women's titles moving forward, revealing that the men's and women's speed titles will be brought to NXT moving forward. Sol Ruca is the current women's speed champion, and Ava revealed she'll be defending the title at No Mercy, with her opponent being determined by a tournament that will also feature one wrestler from Raw or SmackDown and one from NXT, TNA, and AAA. Speaking of TNA, the Knockouts title was on the line at Heatwave as Jacy Jayne defended the title against Masha Slamovich and Ash by Elegance in a triple threat match. The action spilled out of the ring early on, with Slamovich wiping out all of Fatal Influence with a suicide dive to stop them from interfering immediately. The three women involved then made this an extremely physical match, and anyone who only saw Ash work as Dana Brooke will likely have been surprised by her performance, but that's a credit to the improvements she's made. Ash had a good match, but it felt like the main narrative was about Jayne and Slamovich, as most of the near falls and big moments involved those two. Fatal Influence was then caught cheating as they got ejected from ringside, although that didn't make much sense as triple threat matches are technically no disqualifications. The Elegance brand then got involved, pulling Jayne out of the ring, allowing Ash to hit her finisher on Masha to become the new Knockouts champion, as they now hold all the gold in TNA, which they posed with after the bell. This was a surprising result given that WWE had been promoting the idea that Slamovich would be the one to win during the build-up. Elsewhere in the women's division, one of the biggest grudge matches as Blake Monroe collides with Jordynne Grace, who finally had her chance to get her hands on Monroe after weeks of issues. Monroe slapped Grace to start and immediately regretted it as she attempted to run away, but the former TNA star caught up to her and pounded her into the mat repeatedly. Monroe was able to gain control though as she slowed the match down with some submissions, but overall this was a physical encounter that never quite reached the level of intensity needed for the storyline that had been building. Grace should really have been out for blood, but she worked her normal style, which was a shame to see. However, there was one brutal spot where Monroe and Grace battled on the steps until the former AEW star pulled Grace down, slamming her back first onto the steel. In the end, Monroe won the match by stomping Grace's head into the exposed bottom turnbuckle, although the finish led to a lack of reaction, which was random given how loud the fans had been prior to that. It was Canada versus America at Heatwave as well, with Chelsea Green and Ethan Page teaming up to face Tavion Heights and Tyra May Steele in mixed tag team action. The women started the encounter despite Green not wanting that, and she ended up being gator rolled all over the ring as she tried to attack Steele from behind. Interestingly, the crowd seemed to be behind the Canadian heels despite this show taking place in America. That was until Page got on the microphone to tell them that he wouldn't have given them citizenship, which got the reaction he wanted. In the end, Alba Fire and Piper Niven got involved in this one, allowing Green to pin Steele for the win in what was a solid match that would have benefited from being a little longer. That was NXT Heatwave, guys. How did you like it? Sound off in the comments below. Now that the dust has settled after Heatwave, the attention is already turned to the next episode of NXT, and it's a stacked show as Lexis King will be competing in a blindfold match. He'll face Miles Bourne in this stipulation, having been attacking his eyes lately in a bid to remove all of his senses, given that Bourne is deaf. But now King will have to try and deal without the use of sight. In the women's division, Ren Sinclair is looking for a tag team partner to take on the Cullings Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley. Meanwhile, Fatal Influence will battle Sol Ruka, Zarya, and Lola Vice in 6-women tag team action. It's also been confirmed that NXT's Halloween Havoc will be taking place on Saturday, October 25th in Prescott Valley, Arizona, which promises to be a huge event for the developmental brand. WWE fans always love seeing these classic WCW events brought back, and Halloween Havoc has become a staple of NXT in recent years. Halloween Havoc wasn't the only new show announced though, as a special episode of NXT was also confirmed for September 16th in familiar territory. The event will be a homecoming episode from Full Sail University, the former home of NXT, where many classic moments have taken place over the years. It'll be interesting to see if any former faces make their returns to NXT for this special episode, taking place in an iconic venue for the Black and Gold brand. AEW news now is that AEW x New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door will Ospreay join forces with Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and Darby Allin in a lights-out steel cage match against Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, the Young Bucks, and Gabe Kidd. The chaotic clash ended with Ospreay's team standing tall, a feel-good moment capped off by Tanahashi's final Forbidden Door appearance before his retirement next year. After the victory, the group celebrated together, but Ospreay was eventually left alone in the ring to soak in the ovation. The moment carried extra weight. He's expected to take time off soon to recover from a neck injury. That celebration, however, didn't last long. Before the broadcast went off the air, Claudio Castagnoli and Jon Moxley launched a brutal post-match assault. Moxley delivered multiple paradigm shifts before trapping Ospreay's head between a steel chair, while the rest of the faction kept the cage secure. Ibushi desperately hurled himself at the cage door to try to break through, but Wheeler Yuta and Gabe Kidd fought off would-be rescuers with kendo sticks. Reinforcements finally arrived when the Ops stormed to the ring, with Samoa Joe loudly calling for the cage to be lifted. Once it was, Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs charged in, swinging steel chairs, but the attackers slipped out. In the chaos, Darby Allin managed to strike Castagnoli across the back with a kendo stick as he escaped. The vicious beatdown appeared to be more than just a shocking closing angle. It was designed to write Ospreay off television. Reports indicated he may be heading for surgery and could miss several months of action. Speaking to CBS Sports, Ospreay revealed that doctors have urged him to scale back on high-risk maneuvers after surgery. They've advised me to avoid the high-flying moves, he admitted, though he isn't ready to abandon that style completely. Ospreay said he wants to retire those moves on his own term, but acknowledged he may need to adapt if his body forces the change. He pointed to legends like Jushin Thunder Liger and AJ Styles as examples of wrestlers who successfully evolved their in-ring style without losing their edge. As AEW prepares for his recovery, the focus shifts to how Ospreay's in-ring style might evolve after surgery. Do you think AEW should prioritize his long-term health and encourage Ospreay to adapt his moveset, or should he continue pushing through with the high-flying offense that made him a star? More worrying news now as Swerve Strickland's run as a top contender in AEW could be facing an unexpected roadblock. After pushing through a torn meniscus for years, AEW is now preparing for the possibility that Strickland may need surgery following his AEW Unified title defense at Forbidden Door. If that procedure happens, he could be sidelined for several months. The concern became more visible on the August 13th edition of Dynamite when AEW doctors were shown checking on Strickland's knee. While presented as part of the storyline, the injury is very real. Strickland's been dealing with the issue since 2019, dating back to his time at the WWE Performance Center. Although he briefly rested it back then, the knee never fully recovered. Behind the scenes, AEW had been working to keep him active without surgery. According to Fightful Select, Strickland was receiving treatment from the Jacksonville Jaguars medical staff in hopes of avoiding an operation. But with the knee not improving as expected, internal discussions within AEW have shifted toward planning for a recovery period if surgery becomes unavoidable. That reality adds an even greater level of significance to Strickland's Forbidden Door clash with Kazuchika Okada. The match isn't just about the unified title, it could also determine the future direction of AEW's main event scene. A surgery would likely end his current reign and force the company to rethink major storyline plans. Should AEW prioritize Strickland's long-term health and give him time away, or should he keep pushing through while the momentum's still hot? Let us know your take in the comments below. Vince McMahon celebrated his 80th birthday in true larger-than-life fashion this past weekend, hosting a massive party at Gotham Hall in New York City. According to Ringside News, the former WWE chairman went all out for the occasion, bringing in live performances from Kid Rock and AC/DC. The celebration, held on Saturday, marked one of McMahon's first major public appearances since his July car accident and his resignation from TKO Group Holdings. The event wasn't just about star power and entertainment, it was also tightly secured. Ringside News reported that venue staff were instructed to limit access and maintain strict privacy around the party, ensuring the night stayed behind closed doors. Guests themselves kept a low profile, with many choosing not to stop for photos or sign autographs as they entered and left the venue. Despite that, the guest list included The Undertaker and Michelle McCool, John Cena, Kane, Shane McMahon, Sheamus, R-Truth, Gerald Briscoe, Bruce Pritchard, JBL, and Sergeant Slaughter, along with other longtime friends and allies. Between the star-studded lineup, legendary live performances, and tightly controlled atmosphere, the birthday bash reflected exactly the kind of spectacle expected from a man who spent decades shaping WWE with an iron grip. More AEW news as AEW x NJPW Forbidden Door was stacked with action from top to bottom, but new reports have now shed lights on several behind-the-scenes details fans have been asking about. Following his TNT Championship defense against Hiromu Takahashi, Fightful Select reported that Kyle Fletcher required medical attention backstage. The Don Callis family's protostar absorbed a brutal onslaught from the NJPW veteran during their clash at the O2 Arena, but still managed to retain after hitting a sheer drop brainbuster. While no injury was reported, Fletcher did need stitches to close up a cut sustained during the match. As for MVP, questions surfaced about why the Hurt Syndicate's manager wasn't present at Forbidden Door. Fightful sources indicated that his absence wasn't related to travel, logistics, or even storyline changes. Quite simply, MVP was never planned to appear on this card, and his absence was a creative decision rather than a sign of anything going wrong. Meanwhile, Mercedes Moné already has her eyes set on what's next. After surviving a grueling four-way match against Bozilla, Alex Windsor, and Persephone, the TBS champion pushed for a celebration to take place this Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. Fittingly, it's scheduled for Philadelphia's legendary 2300 Arena, the old ECW stomping grounds, where Moné plans to celebrate her successful title defense in front of one of wrestling's most passionate crowds. But her celebration may not go uninterrupted. On August 23rd, Nyla Rose captured the Eve Championship by defeating Nightshade at Eve 138 Eve X the World. Instead of basking in her victory, Rose immediately jumped online and took a jab at Moné. She posted a photo of her new title alongside a screenshot showing that she had blocked Mercedes on X with the caption, "Shit, hey, can y'all keep a secret?" Mercedes caught wind of the post and responded with nothing more than eye emojis, a subtle but telling reaction that fueled speculation among fans. The exchange has left many wondering whether Rose might crash Moné's celebration in Philadelphia to stake her claim as the next challenger. And finally, one of the more surprising details to surface concerns Kota Ibushi. According to Fightful Select, Ibushi was not clued in ahead of time about being added to the Lights Out Steel Cage match. Backstage sources noted he was genuinely shocked to learn he would be involved alongside Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Darby Allin, and others. Forbidden Doors certainly delivered inside the ring, but these revelations make it clear that the fallout and the stories behind the curtain are still unfolding. Do you think Nyla Rose's bold move signals the start of a collision with Mercedes Moné, or was it just a warning shot? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We are ending today with non-NXT news. The Undertaker has been busy since retiring from wrestling, whether it's hosting podcasts or appearing at events, and that's continued this past weekend as he stunned fans with his latest appearance. People are used to seeing the dead man in a wrestling environment, but he surprised people by appearing at Pro Bull Riding's Gamble Days event. He arrived with his iconic music blaring and pyrotechnics popping. He measured up both teams in what was a fun moment, proving that The Undertaker's star power goes far beyond the world of wrestling.